Your manager already knows whether you are staying or going. They knew before your last performance review. They knew before the restructuring was announced. They knew before the budget conversation happened because the budget conversation is where the result gets implemented, not where the decision gets made. The decision was made weeks or months earlier, quietly, in a process you were never told existed. That process is called the keeper test. And once you understand how it works, you will never look at your manager's behavior the same way again. There are 5 signs that you have already been evaluated. And the last one is the reason your manager only talks about your past when you ask about your future. Here's what the keeper test actually is, because the name makes it sound like a formal process, and it is not. The keeper test is the continuous background evaluation every manager runs about every person on their team. Not annually during review season. Continuously, but updated every week by small signals that most employees never notice they are sending. The question the keeper test answers is simple. If I had to rebuild this team from scratch tomorrow, who would I rehire? The people who make the list are the keepers. The people who do not are already in the departure pipeline. They just have not been told yet. Every decision your manager makes about your assignments, your development, your exposure, and your future flows from which side of that list you are on. And here's what makes the keeper test so difficult to detect. The result is never announced. Your manager does not tell you which side of the line you are on, but their behavior tells you constantly if you know what to look for. 5 signs, counting down from 5. Sign number 5, you are only given safe work. When your manager has decided you are a keeper, they give you stretch assignments, work that is slightly beyond your current level, that carries some risk, and that puts your name in front of leadership. When your manager has decided you are not a keeper, they do the opposite. They give you safe work, tasks you can complete competently without any risk of visible failure, but also without any chance of visible distinction. Safe work keeps you busy and keeps you invisible, which is exactly the combination a manager needs when they are managing someone toward an exit. This looks like the quarter where every project with a senior sponsor went to your colleague, and you were given the internal documentation cleanup that nobody would ever present to leadership. The takeaway: track whether the work you are being assigned has upward visibility or not, because the type of work tells you which side of the keeper test you are on. Sign number 4, your development budget disappeared. Organizations invest development resources in the people they plan to keep. Training budgets, conference attendance, certification sponsorship, mentorship programs, these are not equally distributed across every team member. They are allocated based on the keeper test result, even when nobody calls it that. When your training request gets deferred for the 3rd quarter in a row, while your colleague's certification gets approved immediately, your manager is not being forgetful. They are investing in the people they plan to keep and withholding investment from the people they do not. This looks like the day you discovered your colleague's conference trip was approved the same week your training request was quietly removed from the budget spreadsheet, and your manager's only explanation was timing. The test is not written down, the result is. Sign number 3, you were left out of the long-term conversation. Every organization has conversations about the future, next year's roadmap, next quarter's team structure, the hiring plan for the department that is expanding. The keepers are in those conversations. Not because they are more senior, but because the manager is planning a future that includes them. When you are not a keeper, those conversations happen without you. You are not excluded from the meeting explicitly. The meeting just happens to not include you, and nobody thinks to wonder why, because your absence from the future planning already feels natural to the people who have decided you are not in the future. This looks like the moment you realize the team offsite had a session about next year's priorities money, and your name was not on the attendee list, but 2 people with less tenure were. The takeaway: if strategic conversations about the future are happening regularly and you are never in the room, you are not being overlooked. You have been assessed, and the assessment did not include you in the next chapter. Sign number 2, new hires are being trained on your responsibilities. This is the sign that most people rationalize away because the explanation sounds so reasonable. Your manager says the new hire needs to learn the full scope of the team's work, or that cross-training improves resilience, or that it is good for the new person's development to shadow someone experienced, meaning you. All of those explanations can be true, but when the cross-training is specifically on your responsibilities, initiated by your manager without you requesting it, and the new hire is being given increasing ownership of work that used to be exclusively yours, that is not resilience planning. That is succession planning that nobody announced. This looks like the month the new hire started sitting in on your client calls, and by week 4 they were leading them while you were copied on the recap email instead of writing it. The takeaway: If a new hire is being trained specifically on your responsibilities and the training was not your idea, document the scope transfer and ask your manager directly whether your role is being restructured, because the honest answer will tell you everything the keeper test has already decided. But none of these signs compare to sign number one, and this is the one that hurts most because it hides inside a conversation that sounds like your manager cares about your career. They are not planning your development, they are planning your departure. Sign number one, your manager answers your future questions with your past. You sit down with your manager and ask about your career trajectory. You ask about the next role, the next opportunity, the next level. And instead of answering with a forward looking plan, a specific steps, timeline, development areas, the conversation the keeper gets, your manager answers with praise about what you have already done. You have been so valuable to this team. The work you did on that project last quarter was excellent. We really appreciate everything you have contributed. Every sentence is true. Every sentence is warm. And every sentence is about the past because your manager does not have a future to describe to you. When a manager has decided you are a keeper, the career conversation includes specific forward-looking content. Here's what I see for you next quarter. Here is the skill gap we need to close. Here is the project I am positioning you for. When a manager has decided you are not a keeper, the career conversation becomes a highlight reel of your past contributions, because the past is the only place they can speak positively about you without lying about a future they are not planning for you. This looks like the performance conversation where every comment was about how much you contributed last year, and when you ask what the plan is for this year, the answer was, let us revisit that next quarter, and next quarter has now been 3 quarters in a row. The takeaway, when your manager answers your future questions exclusively with your past, they are telling you the keeper test result in the only language they are comfortable using. The praise is real. The future it implies is not. Here's the honest closing. The keeper test is not fair. Oh, it is not transparent. It is not based on a complete picture of your contribution or your potential. It is based on the same incomplete, impressionistic, convenience-driven assessment that determines every other institutional decision we have covered on this channel. But the keeper test result is not permanent because the inputs that determine it are inputs you can change once you know what they are. Visibility, strategic positioning, the type of work you accept, the conversations you initiate, the relationships you build above your manager. The 5 signs tell you where you stand right now, but where you stand right now is not where you have to stay. The keeper test feeds directly into the layoff list, and the layoff list is built months before anyone announces it. I break down exactly how that list gets made and who ends up on it in the next video. The decision is already in progress, and the only question is whether you know it.